Hey there, Jeff Johnson here, Chief Design Officer over here at Nested Knowledge. Today, I'm really proud to announce that we are launching a new screening mode. It's basically a way to better translate not just exclusion criteria into exclusion reasons, as you may be familiar if you've used Nested Knowledge a lot, but also inclusion criteria, taking inclusion criteria into account as written in your protocol into the screening process. And so today I'm going to show you how to configure criteria-based screening, how to turn it on in settings, how to configure it, as well as how to run some of the automation features that we've built into this feature as well. So as you can expect, there's going to be, as with every feature in Nested Knowledge, a manual method to do criteria-based screening, which is helpful to keep the human being in the loop, as well as adhere to best practices, manual best practices, if you want to just do screening manually, as well as a fully kind of automated version of this. And so I'm going to take these first three reasons here, and I'm going to create inclusion criteria for what we're looking for in these records, and then I will run our smart tools on it. So first things first, how do you turn this on? You go to the settings for the Nest and you scroll down to screening. And you'll notice there's a new option today where you get to choose between exclusion reasons, which is kind of the old way or the current way of screening within Nested Knowledge, and criteria-based screening. I'm going to turn this on. This is not destructive. So if you are doing this in an old Nest, your exclusion reasons as they sit will be preserved and they will remain on those records, etc. And if you switch back, they will still be there. However, you won't see them. This does change the screening configuration interface, and I'll show you that in a moment. Other things to note about this feature, it's not currently compatible with dual mode. So that's something to be aware of. If you are in dual mode, we recommend for the time being sticking with either an entirely manual workflow or using our robot screener, our existing inclusion probability model. And that model is still in existence. It's certainly not obsolete by this. It still has its own sort of set of pros and cons associated with it. But criteria-based screening will be available for dual screening at some point in the near future, where we are still actively developing that feature. It's just not quite there yet. There's some complexities around that. So for now, available in standard 2-pass single screening, either one, standard or 2-pass. In this Nest, it's a 2-pass single screening, and I've got criteria turned on. So now, if I head over to the little gear icon, the screening configuration, you'll notice that I've already, in this Nest, created 3 different criteria. And these criteria are all based on my protocol. These are the inclusion criteria required in my protocol. And so you can see here, I've already done a little bit of testing with this feature, but there's still 229 unanswered questions or unanswered records that have each of these questions need to be answered on them. So I'm going to head over to the manual workflow, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you'll see that our interface has changed. On the right-hand side here, we have our 3 questions. We're looking for randomized controlled trials that are related to tyrosine kinase inhibitors, and we're looking for that non-small cell lung cancer population. And then, yeah, so there's a couple other features to this too. You can still make manual decisions about advancing this record or excluding it for a particular exclusion reason. And you'll notice that exclusion reasons are just being generated by our tag names themselves, right? So we still have exclusion reasons for the purposes of generating a Prisma diagram and for excluding the record. Those will still be listed in Study Inspector, but they are just being created based on our criteria. I can manually answer these questions, so for example, this first question, I'm seeing NSCLC population right out of the gate. This is about, non-small cell lung cancer. And so I can annotate this text, and I can answer that this question is affirmatively, yes, this is about non-small cell lung cancer. And so what you'll notice right away is I've got one reason now. It's satisfying one criteria. And you'll see this little scoreboard across the bottom of this. And so you'll sort of see if you have lots of questions that you'll have some unanswered questions. And as you answer these questions, you'll start to get you'll start to get that these are starting to fill out. So again, I can manually kind of work through this record. I am seeing that this record is actually about my particular. Oops, I'm putting that in the wrong thing. We'll put that in here. My particular topic here. So I'm going to put that in there and answer yes and annotate that. And then we can just try to see if this is in fact a randomized controlled trial, which I'm not seeing. Oh yeah, this is a study protocol for a randomized controlled trial. So I think that this is going to be a protocol actually. And so this is not really actually the randomized controlled trial itself. It's sort of the protocol beforehand. So I'm going to answer no on that one. So from there, what you're going to do is you will have your kind of your scoreboard at the bottom. 2 criteria have been satisfied, 1 has not. And so from there, I can make some decisions. If I think that I need to see all 3 of these inclusion criteria satisfied before I'm going to be comfortable including the record, then I can exclude this record for the reason that this is not actually that randomized control trial. It's just the protocol. And so I'm going to exclude this protocol from my review. I don't have to necessarily march through all of these questions each time manually. I can, as you just saw, or I can go back and I can use our smart screener to do this. So I'm going to run this on all 228 remaining abstracts here at the abstract level. I'm going to require some annotations. Annotation rate's pretty good with this tool, so that shouldn't require too much extra work, but I may encounter a few blanks in here if I wasn't able to, if our system wasn't able to find where in fact that information is coming from. So I'm going to generate this. It's going to take a second. It's loading up all that screening criteria, all 3 of my questions, and then afterwards we'll have a pretty good sense of how many yeses, how many nos, and how many unanswered questions we have remaining across all 228 records within this job here. And we can make some determinations from there using our thresholding tool. So I'll let this run and we'll come back to it in a moment. Okay, so now we're back and we have, our system has been able to answer all of the questions for these. So we have a lot of yeses for each one of these. However, there are a bunch of no's as well. And actually, you can filter to each of these records. Each of these little blue numbers is a filter. And so, for example, if I want to know how many of these records our system is deeming as a randomized controlled trial, I can click on yes, and I can see how many of these records are in fact randomized controlled trials. I can double check these results in the actual study inspector here. I can look at the record and see if this is actually correct or not, and I can see for each of these questions whether it says that this is a randomized controlled trial or not, and where in fact that information is coming from. It's going to give me an annotation on that. And here we're seeing between this such and such a date, we enrolled and randomly assigned 42 patients to this treatment group, 40 patients to this treatment. And so this is looking like a randomized controlled trial. And in fact, our title would seem to confirm that as well. So that appears to be a correct answer. We can double check the rest of these. TKI, I'm seeing that this is in fact about tyrosine kinase inhibitors. That's great. Let's see if our population is there. And yeah, there's their population as well. So this is probably a good record to include. Of course, I'm working in an S that has some exclusion, other exclusion criteria in it. So it looks like this one was excluded because it was published before 2015. I'm not sure if that was a correct decision by one of our human reviewers in this nest, because it's looking like this was actually published in 2016. So maybe I've caught a record that probably should have been advanced, and I can advance that record. So there you go. Try this out in your own nests and see what you think of this feature. See if it helps you kind of make better screening decisions, perhaps, or make faster screening decisions. If you configure your criteria based on your protocol, I think there's a decent chance that this tool will be able to answer, definitively for each record at the abstract and the full text level, whether or not each of those records meets each of your criteria, and will show you the proof. Show you that the proof is in the pudding. Where is the provenance of this question answer? It's always going to have that annotation, or almost always. I think annotation rate's something like 95 to 100% with this tool. So that's pretty good. One other feature I want to show you before I let you just try this out for yourself. Within here, you can also threshold your determinations as well. So if you, like, for example, in this case, I've got 3 pretty basic abstract criteria questions. I think it would be reasonable for me to want to, have all 3 of these be, be something that I'm going to be including. Otherwise, if it's not meeting them, I might want to exclude them. So I can increase the number of criteria I need satisfied. I need all 3 to be satisfied. So this number is going to be 3. And then this is going to be advance at or above that threshold, and it's going to exclude below. I can click on this and I can choose to only advance them and maybe look at the excludes first manually. I might try that for this one, or I could just exclude below and maybe look at the advanced, or do it all at once. So that's kind of up to you. In this case, for my kind of situation here, I'm going to advance at or above that threshold. I'm going to apply that threshold. And all of those records now that meet that criteria will be advanced. And so if I go back to Study Inspector, let me add in the abstract screening status column, and let's take a look at how many of these records. Yes, so these were advanced. Let's do advanced records. So here's all the ones that were advanced, probably due to that filter needing to be satisfied. And so there you go. Try it out in your nest, or try it out in this demo nest. You can go in and see if you can spot any holes in maybe some past screening that somebody did on our team in this demo nest, like I did, perhaps, or maybe you'll find that the results are pretty good in your own nest. Let us know what you think. Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.